6 years ago, Peter Sripol released this video of him flying the Santa sleigh that he built. It's basically a giant drone, and we are going to break down exactly what components he used and how he did it. So he actually released this project over 2 videos. I'm going to show all of this as it is on YouTube, so you can go back to his videos and watch them, and you can even go back to like the specific timestamps that you see on the screen if there's something that catches your attention that I don't explain well enough. So we're going to start with this part 1. So we're going to watch some of his video together and just talk about what parts he's using. He says later in the video that right here he's using chromoly, which is something you can weld. It's part steel, it's kind of heavy, but it's very strong. So it's not ideal to make an entire frame for an aircraft out of, but it is very strong and rigid. So I understand why he's using these very thin bars out of it, I guess. A nice thing about chromoly is that you can actually bend it, unlike aluminum, or at least it's way easier to bend than aluminum. So they're just finishing up the frame here. And then you can see that it's pretty light.
That's a lot of work to break.
It's not the lightest material that you can build a drone out of.
It's like 25 pounds. Oh, it's only 20 pounds.
That's what I just say, 20 pounds.
You said 40.
So 20 pounds for something of that size and strength is really not
I
bad.
think 45 pounds.
Especially considering the amount of thrust that he's going to have to put on this thing.
Before you raise it up.
This is the drama we all subscribed for.
So here you can see what motors he's using. They are Sunnysky brand. And I actually went ahead and took the liberty of looking these up for you guys. So I sifted through the video and found the most clear frames of this, some of these components. So I'll show those to you right now. So this is a screenshot of the part in his video where he's showing the motors. And so here is the specific motor that he's using. It's the Sunnysky X8030S with a KV of 100. So I went ahead and looked that up just to see what it costs. So you can see I looked up that motor right here, and this is the exact one that he used. This is $250 directly from the manufacturer, I guess. So, and you'll see later in the video that he used 10 of these motors for his Santa sleigh. So that comes to a total of about $2,500 plus a little bit for tax and shipping and whatever, just for the motors on his drone. All right, let's resume the video. So you see, since this is a coaxial setup, he has aluminum plates to mount each individual motor to, and then he mounts those onto the square aluminum tubing, which I think is a great way to do that. Of course, you could make the plates out of something like carbon fiber if you wanted to. I mean, you could make like basically all this out of carbon fiber if you wanted to, but he, like he said, he was just trying to make this quick, and metal is a great medium, I guess, to make the frame out of.
I know we didn't really explain a lot, but hey, we're gonna run up the motor, then we'll actually talk about this, okay? You good with that, right, Sam?
And then here he shows the ESCs that he's using, the electronic speed controllers.
So we just jam it in the hole and call it a day.
Obviously testing it very professionally.
We good, right?
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Okay.
I didn't hear a tone.
Oh,
there's a tone.
Okay, I'll go ahead and pause this for just a second.
Go.
I guess after he
Yay!
tests it out.
That's some pretty cool sounds.
Okay, so let's talk about these ESCs for just a second. All right, so here is the ESC that he's using. It's, I'm not really sure how to say this brand, Eolo, I think. Yeah, so this is, honestly, it was kind of hard to get a clear picture at any point in the video of the specific ESCs that he was using, but you can kind of read it. I've got two of them here. If we zoom way in, you can see it says 6 to 14S LiPo ESC 116 amps. Let's go back to the previous one, see if that one's, yeah. And then I think this says Pro right here. So let's go ahead and look that up really quick. All right, so here is the exact ESC that he was using. Eolo brand. You can compare the pictures right here. 6 to 14S LiPo, ESC 110 amps Pro is the model, for just under $100. So he used 10 of these for his 10 motors, which would bring it to just under $1,000, or I guess with tax and shipping, just over $1,000 for the ESCs alone.
Okay, now that the heater is subsided, the all-up weight of this is currently around 50-something pounds. What do you think, about 54 pounds?
Yeah, around there.
Shoulder exercise.
So this is actually really funny. Right here, Peter acts like he just estimates that it's just under the 55-pound limit, which is what the FAA's limit for, like a Part 107. A lot of their regulations about drones surround that 55-pound maximum limit. So this is, especially with the batteries, definitely over 55 pounds. So it's funny that he kind of just throws that number out there, that it's, casually, that it's just under 55 pounds. I think he's too smart to have done that accidentally. But yeah, so that's just an interesting side note.
So it's not too bad. It's still pretty lightweight. I think we're projected to have what was your mass, Sam, on this? 360 something pounds?
Of lift? Yeah.
360 pounds of lift with these Sunnysky Motors. I think.
So 360 pounds of thrust from these motors. That's pretty decent for something like this. So when you're building a giant drone, or I mean, really any drone for that matter, you need to pay attention to your thrust to weight ratio. And I'll go into this in more depth in some other video. But that's a key part of building a drone that will actually get off the ground and maneuver. If you have a thrust to weight ratio of 1:1, which means that, say your drone, let's just say, a small drone, let's say your drone weighs 10 pounds and it has 10 pounds of thrust, well, that drone is going to hover exactly in place. If you put it in the air, it won't sink or climb, but it's not going to be able to move or maneuver very well because its thrust is exactly matching the gravity's pull of that drone. So you want to have a thrust to weight ratio of usually like 2:1 is pretty good. If you can have twice as much thrust. He does talk about this later in the video, that his thrust is not quite high enough to where it presents other issues with controlling it like yaw. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But just, to calculate his thrust to weight ratio, he says later in the video that he is about 140 pounds himself. Let's just estimate that this thing weighs like 80 pounds. I can't remember, with the batteries and everything else on it. I don't remember if he actually says in the video how much it weighs. So we're going to estimate that the aircraft with the person inside of it weighs about 220 pounds. If the motors generate 360 pounds of thrust, that's a thrust to weight ratio of about 1.64, which is not terrible. That's maneuverable, but like I said, it does present other problems because it's not actually that high.
Get out of here.
So we're going to watch him spin up his motors to full speed, and then I'll talk about the propellers for just a second. I feel like you could make a rap to this beat. I think that'd be really cool to make like an ESC rap. I think that'd be hilarious, by the way.
Ready?
Yeah.
You can see all the stuff going around. So it does generate some thrust. So it was actually like really hard to find a good image to identify these propellers, because the, I guess, identifier, like the dimensions, are stamped on it in like black plastic. So I did find this. I had to sift through the video frame by frame at multiple points to find this. So you can see over here, it is 32 by 11.5, and this specific one is a clockwise spinning propeller. I don't know why these hubs are black, because I'll show you here. These ones, this is what it is, but these show kind of a silver hub, but it doesn't matter. It's exactly the same thing. This is the Eolo brand, 32 by 11.5 inch propellers. So these are $89.99 for a pair. So he would have needed 5 pairs of these for his 10 motors, which would come out to just right around $500 when you factor in all the other expenses.
6S, yeah. So that's exactly half the voltage of the minimum,
So this is
requirements.
kind
so
of funny.
This is supposed to do what, like 30 pounds of thrust at full throttle, right?
So this is kind of funny because this is actually exactly how I set up my first flying car. The other 5 videos that I made of that, if you guys want to go watch it if you haven't seen them yet. He set up this whole thing on a 6S battery, at least for testing, and it is supposed to be running on 12S, which is twice the voltage of what the ESCs are able to have as an input. And that's exactly what I did for my videos, for my build. I tested with a 6S battery and ultimately used a 12S for flight, which presented some stupid problems that I kind of overlooked, but I'm not going to go into that right now. And that's pretty much it for part 1. So let's go on to part 2, which actually has way more views, probably because he's actually flying it, and that's what people want to see. You can see that this part 1 of his has just about 500,000 views, and part 2 is actually recommended over here with almost 4.5 million views. So I'll click on that and go back to the beginning.
Liberty Mutual is all she talks about since we stay.
So I guess this is where I got those screenshots of the ESCs. So you can see here, this is a power distribution block or a bus bar. There's a few different names for it. Basically, it's a metal bar with a whole bunch of screws on it where you can connect a bunch of wires. And when you are building something that sucks as much power as a giant drone or a flying car, you need a really robust power delivery system. And so this is one way to do it. It can be a little bit messy, but basically you take all of your ground wires from all of your ESCs and connect them to one bar, and then you take all of your positive wires from the ESCs and connect it to a separate bar, and then you also plug in your batteries to each of those bars. Alternatively, there are other designs where you can literally just hook up a battery straight to each ESC or motor, which is kind of what I did in my build. But this is a, I don't know, I guess a more reliable. I'm not even going to say go that far. It's one way to do it. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay.
So,
I didn't need this after all.
what's this? Care to explain what's going on?
Okay, and here Peter shows us with a very unclear image what software he's using. So let's talk about that for just a second. I'm actually going to skip way ahead in the video for just a second to show Peter explaining the flight controller that he's using, just so we can talk about all of this together.
Wow. Anyways, DJI N3 flight controller. Funny thing, my life is depending on this when it's in the air, because if this thing were to do this, well, I guess it's stuck. If it were to do this like this,
so he's just kind of explaining that it's not mounted very well. But so this is the DJI N3 flight controller. So here I have a screenshot from that part of the video where it just shows the DJI N3 flight controller pretty clearly. The flight controller also comes with this GPS unit, antenna, whatever you want to call it. And then it has its own DJI N3 software that Peter also used to fly the drone. well, to set it up, as you can see in this image, where he's setting up his motors and stuff. And then this is a still from a different part of the video where he's setting it up with his phone that's attached to the controller. So I hunted down the DJI website listing or whatever of this flight controller. I don't believe you can actually buy it new anymore because this is kind of old and outdated. I guess I was wrong about buying it new, but this is not from the DJI website. I assume they're a dealer of DJI products, but this is from, I guess, RC Drone, a different website. And they have this whole set listed for $500. Of course, you only need one flight controller, one set to fly this drone, so he would have just had to pay $500 for his drone. It comes with the GPS, as I showed earlier. It comes with this whole set. And then obviously you can download the software directly from DJI to be able to control this. And most of the rest of this video, this part 2 video, is they're just flying this thing around, trying to tune it, trying to get it to fly right, and then eventually flying with Peter's dad and then with himself inside of it. I will just push play here for a sec. You can see it, there's this tether. So he has this giant over 55-pound drone tethered to the ground. And this is, I mean, he doesn't say this in the video, but I'll just tell you. This is kind of a gray area for the FAA because technically, since you're not supposed to be flying drones over 55 pounds without special waivers, this is a way to tether it to the ground to where you are technically not flying because you are still attached to the ground. So technically your drone is not a free flying body in the NAS. Maybe you guys have more insight into that. As far as I understand, it's just a gray area. And so he is tying it down so he's not going to get in trouble with the FAA for flying a drone that's over 55 pounds freely in the air. Also, it's just a good practice and good idea if you are testing something out to have some safeguards in place. And so this is just, in general, a good idea to do, just in case it were to fly away or hit something. You wouldn't want that to happen or anyone to get hurt. So in these shots of Peter flying inside the sleigh, you can see that he is operating it from inside with his controller. And personally, I think that there are better ways to do this than to be in a contraption you threw together and be relying on your fine motor skills for complete control of this device. So eventually, when I am successful in building something that I can trust with my life, I will not be flying it quite in this way. It's funny because there's a lot of people that have built these kind of things that have flown it exactly the same way, where they are on their drone, flying it with the sticks in their hands, either sitting or standing on it. And I just personally don't think that's the optimal way to do it. I think it's kind of dangerous. And I just don't trust myself being jostled around in this thing. It's kind of like when you're on a dirt bike for the first time and you have your hands on the handles, and the throttle is one of them where you rotate it and you get going really fast. So it's kind of like on a dirt bike where you pull on it and it throws you back because you're surprised and not expecting it. And then because you're being thrown back, you're like holding onto the handlebars for your life, which causes you to turn the throttle even higher and you eventually just flip the dirt bike. I imagine something like that could very easily happen if you're flying around in this drone and it jostles you around and your fingers slip on the sticks. That's just not an ideal situation. So there's a big long explanation for why I think that's a bad idea, but people can do whatever they want. Obviously, Peter is extremely experienced and I think he has a good enough idea of what he's doing. So that's all I have for all the components and the build thoughts on this video. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I will, I guess, expound on certain things down there. This is the first time that I've ever done something like this, so let me know if you like this idea. Also, I am going to make a spreadsheet with all of the details of everything that I talked about in this video. All of the components, I'm just going to list them out nice and pretty. I will have a number of how many he used on this. I'll have a link of where you can go to buy it if you want to. I'll have some specs, stuff like that, the price. And I think I'll also do like a total tally of how much a project like this would cost. And I'm going to have that be available in my Patreon, which I just set up. Let's see how this goes. I've never done something like this. I just thought if you guys want the convenience of looking at that spreadsheet, you can go find it in Patreon. It's just $5 a month. And I'm going to be putting all of my spreadsheets for all videos like this one that I make with the components list and everything. So again, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in looking at where to buy these components, go check out my Patreon. I'd appreciate it. Also, my Discord channel for Drone Builders Discord. I guess it's a Discord server, not a channel. The link is in the description if you want to go there and show off your own builds or ask questions about how certain things are built or how you can fix your issues. And we're just building a nice, fun little community there of drone builders. So thanks, guys, for watching, and we will see you in the next video.